all-new Dr. Phil.
Jill was a legitimate...
What did
I was sex trafficked for the past 21 years. These traffickers have poisoned me, drugged and raped me.
Is it all in her mind?
I'm pregnant. How can I be pregnant if I didn't have consensual sex?
You said medical proof of the pregnancy. The medical document says abdominal pain. There's no proof there. Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Jill was a legitimate international beauty queen who had it all, traveling the world while donning her crown. Now, Jill left the pageant world to get married and have her son. But after her divorce, Jill says she desperately wanted to reclaim her crown and compete again. And that's when she claims her life turned a very dark corner and something sinister began happening.
I was sex trafficked for the past 21 years, drugged and raped. When I was 18 years old, I started doing beauty pageants. Within about 1 month, I was crowned Miss El Paso. By 1995, I represented the U.S. in the Miss World contest. I was married in 96. I left the pageant world at that time. 2.5 years later, I had my son. By 1999, I got my divorce. Basically, I was broken down. I had no money. I had my son. Eventually, I ran into somebody at a restaurant that suggested that I go back into the beauty pageant business. When I decided to return to beauty pageants, I was set up with wealthy men, and they would say, Jill, you're going to go meet this person in Mexico City, or you're going to go to San Diego, or you're going to go to El Paso, or someone's going to call you. So it was very much arranged. I got expensive clothing. I got, in one instance, in Mexico City, I came back with $9,999. And essentially, I was expected to sleep with a variety of men in order to survive. The sex trafficking was very well crafted.
Jill claims she was not just a pretty face wrapped in a polyester sash, but a rape victim forced into prostitution. She says she was finally able to escape that life and to return home to be with her son and live normally. But that's when Jill claims things went from bad to worse. And when I say worse, she describes much, much worse.
When I was sex trafficked, I tried to break free, and I tried to come out and tell my story. I believe there is a group of people that are human traffickers that are out there trying to get me to stop telling my story. These traffickers have poisoned me, drugged and raped me, assaulted me, strangled me. I believe the number of the people who have drugged and raped me is astronomical. It's been politicians, newscasters. I've been toxically poisoned by doctors. The first time I believe I was poisoned, I started a job and a person got me a pot pie, and the doctor explained to me that it was loaded with bug spray. After that happened, I worked at a store. I left my drink underneath the cash register area, and I was toxically poisoned. I knew I had been drugged because I was hallucinating. My heart was beating like it was going to explode. My hair was falling out. I was acting delirious, ranting and raving. I tried to get surveillance video to see what had happened exactly. I'm just saying I became sick after I left that shift, and all I want to do is see the video. Management said it was impossible that this could have happened. You know, they were trying to make me look like I was crazy. Just last year, I was sent to a shelter where women go for being human trafficked. I woke up with my eyes doing figure eights. So I realized that my head was violently shaken to forget the memory of being raped in the shelter. No matter where I go, no matter where I run to, the human traffickers always find me.
Jill hasn't seen her son Memo in 7 years. Now, he says his mom just walked out the door one day and never came back. He's now 22 years old, and he's here today, desperate to reunite with his mother.
I drove 1,200 miles from Texas, 10 hours a day for 2 days to get this opportunity to see my mom. I'm not sure my mom realizes how much leaving me might have affected me over the years.
But the question is his mother excited to see him? Well, we'll find out the answer to that question later. But first, I want to talk with Jill. You have a very busy trauma life that has come rushing back to your consciousness, right?
Most definitely. That's the best way to put it.
And then what brought all of this to the surface? What caused all this to come back into your consciousness?
Well, I was working at a courthouse and I was given food with what I was told bug spray was in it. And
who told you that?
the doctor that treated me, after going to multiple hospitals, I finally got some assistance from a doctor.
How did he know it was in food instead of something that you inhaled spraying for bugs, or
That's a
that
good
the bug
question.
man had come, or
Yes.
something, and that you had just inhaled it?
When I had the food, it was like not even after a few bites, like this sharp feeling went through my head and I collapsed down on the table.
And then when you regained your senses, you became aware that you had been raped.
Yes, most definitely. And around me, all the snickering and the obvious signals, like all these red flags were popping up everywhere. And it was very obvious a lot had happened.
When we come back, Jill says she's always trying to outrun her sex traffickers. She's going to tell us about all of this in more detail next. Is it possible that these memories that have come rushing back and these recent thoughts are not in fact real? And later,
I'm completely appalled that she would claim that. That just shows to me that you are not there. This is not the mom I knew for the first 13 years.
I have been through many of these situations, okay? It's not anything about mom. That's not the way, it doesn't work like that. I was living in an apartment and the manager of the apartment was drugging my food. So basically she would enter my apartment, open the refrigerator and go through my food, and the next thing I know I was out of my mind and I couldn't have any feeling in my body. When I cleared out my system a little bit with the activated charcoal, I could see clearly my apartment manager was facilitating drug and rape as well as putting chemicals in my food when I was gone.
at 18 years old, Jill graced the runways in beauty pageants that took her around the world. But years later, when she tried to return to pageant competitions, she claims instead of reclaiming her title, she was sucked into an ugly world of prostitution and sex trafficking. 7 years ago, she left her son and family and never returned. Why? Because she believes that they may well be involved in all of that trafficking and forced prostitution. Jill says she's been on the run, hiding and dodging from her sex traffickers. And just months ago, Jill claims she was the victim of a home invasion where one of her attackers had a very familiar voice.
The last time I saw my son, I was at my apartment and the apartment manager was sex trafficking me. I remember coming in and out of consciousness. I had an IV in my arm. I was being drugged. I was very numb, but still trying to pick up things and keep them in my memory. I believe my son was in that apartment with me. There was a moment that I'm almost certain I heard my son Memo's voice. I specifically remember him saying that, "Mom, you don't know how to have sex." After I was able to leave my apartment, I gathered all my stuff together. I went to my car, I drove off. I started taking activated charcoal, clearing my mind out a little bit, and remembering my son more and more. I was in a panic. My son was involved with human traffickers.
Wow. Jill, I got to ask you, I've been doing this 45 years, and I have interviewed a lot of rape victims, but I don't believe I've ever interviewed anyone that has been the victim of this kind of ghastly, atrocious serial offenses that's so matter of fact about it.
You know, It's interesting that you say it like that. In order to be this person that represents, maybe sex trafficking, I want to be clear-headed, move forward. And I am a little bit matter of fact, you're right. But
you say that you have been sex trafficked in every location that you've moved to in the past 20 years.
There's been multiple locations and it's been horrible.
And you say that you were drugged and raped by various doctors, a person at the courthouse, a former classmate, and none of these people would seem to know each other.
But like I said, I believe it's my family.
And so you think your sister was involved in this?
Yes, and her husband.
And what would their motive be?
My theory is financial gain.
You accuse various people of drugging you and raping you in Santa Barbara. The list of names included Harvey Weinstein, the NXIVM sex cult, and Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes.
So the Internal Affairs did do an investigation, and according to the email response from the Internal Affairs investigation to Jill, they said, quote, "Your complaint allegations were determined to be unfounded."
And that, I don't know the law and how it works essentially behind all this, but you wash your clothes, you take a shower. It doesn't mean you haven't been raped.
Is it possible that these memories that have come rushing back and these recent thoughts are not in fact real?
I'm waking up to being infected with a sexual transmitted disease. I'm waking up to bruises on my stomach. It's very evident. I'm pregnant. How can I be pregnant if I didn't have consensual sex? There's no way.
Well, you gave us medical evidence of that.
Yes.
And when we looked at the medical evidence, there was no mention of any pregnancy. She said, "I have proof, medical proof of the pregnancy." And here it is. According to medical documents provided by you to us from July 9th of 19, the medical document says abdominal pain, a mass-like structure in the lower uterus cervix, no mention of pregnancy.
The records are...
Then 22520, diagnosis, dysmenorrhea, risk factor, none, no mention of pregnancy. So there's a lot of talk around it. There's no proof there.
I was pregnant. Whatever I gave you wasn't complete.
Well, Jill's son says he hasn't seen his mother in 7 years, and he would like to reunite with Jill. But does Jill want to reunite with him? Well, we'll find out what these two have to say to each other because Memo is here, and he's going to join us right after the break.
About the time I was 13, my mom would wake up with these night terrors. I would just watch her continue to freak out. And she would do this even after I would flip the light on and her eyes would be wide open. My sophomore year of high school, my mom was thrown into an institution.
I'm devastated that my son would sex traffic me. I believe my son was manipulated. They got to him at a point where he maybe needed money or needed people around him, and he was vulnerable.
Well, Jill is a former beauty queen who claims that she's been drugged, raped, poisoned, and sex trafficked on and off over the past 20 years. Now, 7 years ago, she says she decided enough was enough. Without her belongings, she got into a taxi, leaving her 14-year-old son Memo to grow up without his mother. Jill says it was for his own protection. Well, Memo is now 22 years old and says he wants his mom back in his life.
I was 14 years old when my mom left. Growing up, my mom and I had a really good relationship.
We had this great connection, this good vibe around us, and he was like an angel.
When I was 13 or 14, my mom claimed that at 3 different jobs that she was poisoned.
I told my son everything that was happening to me, the sex trafficking, the drugging, the raping, the poisoning. He witnessed a lot of ugly stuff.
My mom would wake up with these night terrors. I would just watch her continue to freak out. And she would do this even after I would flip the light on and her eyes would be wide open. My sophomore year of high school, my mom was thrown into an institution.
They put me in handcuffs. My mom and dad were like, oh, this is what we need to do, honey, for you. They were going along with it. So I went with the constable to the psych ward. I was there for 72 hours being evaluated. And that's when I pretty much knew I needed to leave.
The last time that I saw my mom was November 2013. My mom just called a taxi, hugged me goodbye, and left. I tried talking her out of it. I tried not letting go of her, but she left anyways. I was numb. I feel like my worst fear had been realized. I never saw my mom again since, not even momentarily.
Well, Memo drove all the way from Texas to see his mother for the first time in 7 years. Come on out, Memo. How you doing? Have a seat here. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I'm really glad you're here. It had to be difficult to be backstage watching on the monitor, listening, and hear her say that you were involved in a home invasion and her serial rape and drugging. How do you respond to that?
I'm completely appalled that she would claim that. And I have so much proof that that never happened. That just shows to me that you are not there. This is not the mom I knew for the first 13 years of my
I
life.
have been through many of these situations, okay? It's not anything about mom. That's not the way, it doesn't work like that. There's been many situations that have happened. And when I was there in the apartment, I thought I heard his voice.
I'm speaking to the core of your soul now. Do you honestly believe that your son was in a room facilitating your serial rape?
You know, I would hope that would not be the case. But from what I remember, I was, in and out of consciousness. I was very sick.
Let's just go with what you said and assume for argument's sake that that's true. That you're drugged, so therefore you're in a haze, you're in and out of consciousness, and you think you might have heard a voice you haven't heard in 7 years. Compared to what you know about your son, what's most likely? That that's a distortion of your mind, or that he has become a sex trafficker?
Who would even say that if they didn't feel that?
Well, apparently you would, because you called his college and said he was a sexual predator.
I did not say sexual predator. I said that I was concerned that he was around people that were sex trafficking me.
You said he is into some inappropriate sex acts and needs to be watched. I fear for the young girls in college around him.
I don't even know what to say to that. That is absurd. You raised me to be polite and just intelligent, and I did everything for you, Mom. I just wanted to make you proud. And you would accuse me of something like this. That's how I know you are not in the right mental state right now.
Well, coming up, Memo says his mother refuses to acknowledge that she needs help for any kind of mental illness. And we're going to talk to an expert about these type memories. We'll be right back.
I must have been poisoned dozens of times. I had reached out to a doctor for heavy metal poisoning, but I realized the last treatment, toxic poisoning, was put in my body through the IV. I try to keep on the move. My hypervigilance keeps me one step ahead of the traffickers. I do move from shelter to shelter. So this is the back seat of my car. Whatever I can fit in here, I take. I'm even a part of the address confidentiality program. My mail is delivered to the Attorney General, and then from there, they mail my mail to where I requested. I have to stay alive to get my story out to other people to help humanity.
Jill says that ever since she left the beauty pageant industry, she's been sex trafficked and is currently on the move for fear that sex traffickers will find her. I want to introduce someone else to the conversation. Dr. David Lay is a world-renowned clinical psychologist and very prolific author. He serves on the board of the Sexual Health Alliance as an expert advisor and is an internationally recognized expert on issues related to sexuality, pornography, and mental health. Dr. Lay, it's good to see you again.
Likewise, Dr. Phil. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the conversation so far. What can you add?
What the research has really indicated is that the best way to help people that are struggling with what they experience as recovered memories is to help them recognize, kind of as you did today, Dr. Phil, that some of the things we believe to be true may not be, and be a little skeptical about our beliefs and feelings.
And that is hard sometimes because we do tend to believe ourselves. It's kind of like Occam's razor. Sometimes the simplest explanation is most likely true. That's why I said commonsensically, what's the most likely truth? That this young man that you did such a good job raising would be actually pimping out his own mother, who he obviously loves and adores, or that somehow or another your thinking has gotten mixed up.
Okay.
Would you entertain the possibility that even though it feels so real to you, that it's possible that there's an alternative explanation, that he hasn't gone to the dark side, that he's the young man you know him to be?
So on that note, I need to go.
Mom, I need you to stay because it just wouldn't be fair for you to leave after you have accused me of just something so absurd.
Closed captioning provided by...
Doesn't your family deserve the best?
Eggland's best eggs.
More delicious, farm-fresh taste.
Plus superior nutrition, which is now more important than ever.
Stop! Clearing breakouts doesn't have to be harsh on your sensitive skin. New Cetaphil Gentle Clear contains balanced formulas that gently clear break.
Would you entertain the possibility that even though it feels so real to you, that it's possible that there's an alternative explanation, that he hasn't gone to the dark side, that he's the young man you know him to be?
I don't know whether he was there or not, but this whole delusional thing that's coming up, it's very troubling to me because it's basically trying to excuse the drug and rape.
No, and I have spent 45 years leading the fight against domestic violence, sexual abuse, sex trafficking, have spent hours on this platform. So you're not going to cast me in a position of saying that I don't take sex trafficking seriously, because I do. And I think someone that comes up and waves a sex trafficking flag, if it's not genuine, does more of a disservice to the fight against sex trafficking than someone that really has been involved in it. And I think that...
So on that note, I need to go, because if you're making me sound like I'm not genuine, you're making it's not what I came here for.
Mom, I need you to stay because it just wouldn't be fair for you to leave after you have accused me of just something so absurd.
I've been disabled from sex trafficking. I have an address confidentiality program card where I check marked on there sex trafficking, human trafficking, and I was approved for. So this is not out of outer space. This is something that's happening to me.
I think the question for Jill right now is, she has Memo who wants to have a relationship with her and wants to be part of her life. And the struggle for all of us is, do we want the relationship and the connection with people that care about us, or do we want to be right about these beliefs? And the opportunity here for Jill, I think, is to say, as hard as it is, I'm gonna put talking or thinking about this stuff on hold so that I can have a relationship with my son.
I just don't want to be dismissed. I don't want to say
dismissing you.
She wasn't raped. Nowadays, you have to be believed, and I want to be believed. I'm for real. A lot has happened, and I don't have answers. I need answers.
I need
Okay?
answers too. I need the truth.
Answers.
I do not doubt that something happened to you at some point.
Okay.
And your trauma
Nor do
is
I.
just repeating
Okay.
itself.
No, I wish that was the case, but it's not. That is for
Can
real.
I explain something?
Sure.
Can we talk about the episodes you would have in the middle of the night? You would be yelling bloody murder, and you would say stuff like, "Don't take my son, don't take my son." I had to physically like grab your shoulder and move you, like shake you for you to snap out of it.
I'm sorry you're building this mental illness case, and it's sickening to me. This is all about excusing the sexual assault, and I'm
No,
sick.
I think it's
am
wrong. I would
sick
never
to my
do
stomach
that.
right now.
And I need to
being
clear my
here
name.
on television, and I prompted this. Why would I prompt this if I didn't feel it was true?
I have no doubt that you feel it's true.
Yes, it's
don't
absolutely
either.
true.
I have no doubt that you feel it's true. How could I help you today?
You know, it's his word against my word, I feel. So I feel like a little bit overwhelmed. I just want to bring light to sex trafficking in the right way.
And do you think that he deserved the right to say his side?
Sure.
Do you think he had the right to come here and say, I'm innocent, I wasn't there, and I'm
That's
not a
why
predator?
I gave you his phone number.
Right, so
Yeah,
you agree that he had the
absolutely.
right to
Oh,
challenge
perfect,
what you're
yeah.
saying.
I said,
And
hey, yeah.
you implicated your sister, and your sister gave us a statement. You know, she's not here, but she gave us a statement, and she said, all of Jill's allegations pertaining to me are not true. I have never sex trafficked my sister, nor would I even know how. I may not be able to understand exactly how you feel, but your family cares about you, and we want you to get help. Your amazing son needs you in his life, and he needs you to see all the amazing things he's accomplished.
We want you back home, Mom. We really do. We would never do anything to hurt you.
I've tried. I've been through so much. I want you to believe me. I just want you how I had you, Memo. Please believe me, Memo. Believe me. Don't, please. Oh my God. Like, I want this to be a positive thing. That's why I made this happen.
What is positive about accusing your son of something
Memo,
like this?
I need to
If
talk to you.
If
You won't even talk to me on the
entertain the
phone.
possibility of me not even being there in this incident.
You won't
What
even
is positive
talk to
about
me on
that?
the phone.
Do you not understand the implications of that?
Dr. Lay made a recommendation. We'll talk about whether or not that's possible with what's going on right after the break. Dr. Lay, you say the important thing is sometimes to make a decision to lean into a relationship rather than just your own thinking. And that's what Memo is asking his mother to do. And you think that might be a place to start. Am I reading that correctly?
Dr. Phil, I think that's the best option for this family. It's a hard thing to do, to say, these things that I know and believe to be true are getting in the way of these relationships. And so the difficult choice for us right now is, which do we want? The relationships and as you said, leaning in, or holding on to these things that have happened in the past and that feel so real. I think everybody wants to move forward, and the way we move forward is through connection and relationship. And as I said earlier, being skeptical about the things that we believe that are getting in the way of these relationships.
Is it possible that you might find some safety in relationship with Memo, that he might be a protector, that others in your family might close ranks around you and provide you a feeling of safety in the middle of all of this?
I would hope so. That would make sense. That maybe he can put some insight to my situation as well. I would hope.
But there are people that profess their love to you. Is it possible that they might be a soft place to fall in this, to provide you some support and some help?
From what I recall and remember, it's not a cushion. It's not a little love seat that I'm going to be falling on. It's not a good thing.
I want to welcome you back
Thank you.
I just think that you need to get the help you need.
I have been. I know I see people reacting, but I sincerely can tell you that I've been to a psychotherapist, I've been to a psychologist, psychiatrist. I'm so forthcoming. I can't call them fast enough when I get to the new town I'm in. I'm like, what's going on here? Let's do this. Let's get me on some medication that's very mild. They use like an alpha stim that you just wear simply on your ears and it relaxes you. Let me move forward. Let me do this. Let me get everything in gear. I have my insurance paid, everything, all my ducks in a row. I won my disability case with sex trafficking. God forbid would I say that, but I won. And it has sex trafficking in the verbiage, in the paperwork. So, I mean, I don't know what you need to see, if I need to go and in contact, but I'm not going to go back without having information from the law. I need more answers still. You're one thing, you're my son, but the other situations that happen, I need more answers and I deserve more answers. And I deserve to be believed.
I deserve answers too.
Provide some time for the two of you here in a controlled environment afterwards to spend some time talking about this. And I don't know where you are therapist-wise, but I'll set you up with immediately 10 sessions with a doctoral level therapist with Doctor On Demand, which is a company that my son actually launched. It's a teletherapy company where you can do it from the comfort of your own home or wherever you are. And
Thank you.
Please don't think that I don't think you've been through trauma in any way at all. I'm not saying that. I am saying I do not believe your son is involved in this in any way whatsoever. 100%. I do not believe he has anything to do with this. And if you at home want your own Doctor On Demand, go to Google Play or the Apple App Store and download the Doctor On Demand app. And by the way, during the pandemic, Doctor On Demand is waiving copays during COVID-19 to make it easier for you to see a board-certified doctor from the safety of your own home. And if you have Medicare Part B, everything is free. I want to thank my guests today. Thank you too. I'm glad to see mom and son together on this stage. You did a good job with him.
Thank you.
For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
On Dr. Phil, an obsession
I'm addicted to being pregnant
that has her lying to her husband.
You actually stopped taking birth control 3 months before you told him.
Will her addiction
I want another baby. We have to have 8.
No, we don't.
destroy their marriage?
You said, unless I'm pregnant, I don't feel worthy.
I keep thinking that having another child will make me happy.
You're having children for the wrong reasons. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
I hate to see people suffering, and you've hurt long enough.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
I'm going to get you the help that you need.
5, 4.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Go, Dr. Phil.
have all heard of the honey-do list, right? You've all heard of that. Boy, do I have a honey-do list. Well, today you're going to meet a frustrated fiance who has a honey-do not-do list. And it's getting longer by the day. It includes things like no sleeping in the same bed, no cuddling, no holding hands, no long kisses, or if attempting to kiss her, remember to hold your breath. No whistling, no sounds, no eating and making sounds, no tapping her to get her attention. The poor guy says that after 7 years, his patience is wearing a little thin. I'll talk to him and his very particular bride-to-be later in the show. But first, Liz and Chris say their 4-year-old marriage is on the verge of divorce because of Liz's addiction to getting pregnant, among other issues. Liz says her life is completely out of order because of her disorders. Take a look.
I'm addicted to being pregnant. There you go. Let me get your snacks. I don't think that I could stop having kids on my own. I do consider myself addicted to sex when we're trying to conceive. It's the only time I'm interested in it. The only time that I take care of myself or value myself is when I'm pregnant. I'll start on my husband for another one. It's been taking longer and longer to get him to agree because he thinks we have enough children.
You know that it's an addiction that I have, and you know that as soon as I stop nursing, I want another baby.
And I don't like odd numbers, as you know, because that's going to be baby number 7 for the family. We have to have 8.
No, we don't.
My husband wants a girl, so I use that to manipulate him to get what I want.
These are some of the outfits that I picked out while I was shopping whenever I saw something really cute that I thought might sway my husband into having another baby. So I would buy an outfit, and that night it would be on his pillow.
I feel like my wife's behavior is going to give me a heart attack by the time I'm 35. Part about my wife that I'm just over with is the addictions to animals.
I've probably had anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 animals. I've had horses, guinea pigs, rabbits, rats, birds. Anything you can think of, I've probably had it.
I love to see animals grow babies in their belly. The whole process fascinates me.
My husband started threatening me with divorce about a year ago.
I've threatened my wife with divorce 2 or 3 times in the past month.
He just says he can't take it anymore, and I will push his buttons.
I'm by myself all the time in my own. I have to.
Well, if you had a job, you wouldn't be by yourself all the time.
Yeah, it's always, yeah.
I know I'm doing it, but I can't stop it. And I think that might be part of my bipolar disorder.
My wife can be your best friend one minute and your worst enemy the next.
I've just told him that he has no drive. He acts like a bum. I told him he must like fat chicks because both of his exes are a little bit larger.
It makes me feel horrible being treated like that.
I would love to stay home with the children.
My wife punishes me for staying at home with the kids.
When it comes to this addiction with pregnancy, I am completely illogical. It's all emotional. And I can't seem to logically talk myself out of it.
Okay, as you watch that, what's your thought?
It upsets me because I consider myself a very logical person and an intelligent person, but when it comes to my pregnancy addiction and my addiction to getting animals and everything, it's completely illogical. It's all emotional, and I don't know how to stop it.
You get worn down.
Yes, I get worn down. After months and months of constant pressure, I just give in.
She said straight up, you didn't want to have another baby.
Yes.
And then she would wear you down after 6 or 7 months. You would hold your ground.
Yes, sir.
But you don't actually take 6 or 7 months because you actually stopped taking birth control 3 months before you told him, right?
But I tell him I am, and then I tell him it's his problem, that if he wants to prevent it, then he can.
He can prevent it by abstaining?
Abstaining or using protection or whatever he wants to do. I really sort of use that he wants a girl against him. I sort of manipulate him into another baby, like maybe the next one will be a girl, maybe the next one will be a girl. And I definitely manipulate him into that way of thinking, and that's how I usually get him to agree.
How do you feel about that? She's saying, I just manipulate him until I beat him down.
It hurts because, I don't want to, I'm my own person, and she makes me feel like I'm her person. I do what she wants, how she wants, when she wants.
People are probably thinking you've got like 20 kids,
no.
But you don't. You only have 4, and you have 2 stepchildren.
Correct. Yeah.
But how many miscarriages have you had?
I've had 4 to 5 miscarriages over the past probably 8 years, 2 within the last year.
But weren't you just in the emergency room?
I was in the emergency room Saturday night, and they basically said that I had several burst cysts. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that there was a lot of blood in my pelvic cavity. And the chances of me being pregnant right now, because we are trying, were probably pretty slim. And then she told me I had 3 options. I could either have my ovaries removed to stop the cysts, I could have a hysterectomy, or I could continue to have pain and try to have children.
So what do you want to do?
C.
You want to continue to have pain and continue to have children?
Yes.
She said, we are trying. With the we?
We are.
Yeah, with the we.
He agreed.
If I don't agree, my life's a living hell.
So right now you're being coerced.
Yes, sir.
Don't make it out to seem that I'm coercing you and you're so unhappy about it.
I still said no 100 times.
You've even looked at the little girl outfits and said it would be so cute to have a little girl, to put in them. And
That's the manipulation part.
But it's not manipulation. That's how you feel too.
You do realize you just told him how he feels.
I do that on a daily basis.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Now, all right. Let's talk about Liz's, what she calls addiction to pregnancy and pets. Okay. She says she's addicted to sex when trying to conceive.
Yes.
Right. So if she's trying to get pregnant, you're just all hooked up.
It's like we're teenagers.
Yeah, like you're teenagers. All right. She admits that she manipulates Chris to have more babies, including currently. She enjoys pregnancy attention, bed rest, scares, hospital visits. Only feels valuable when pregnant or caring for babies. Feels rejected and devastated when babies stop nursing. Goes off meds when pregnant against doctor's advice. Because you're on meds, because you're also diagnosed with OCD, PTSD, anxiety, and bipolar disorder.
Correct.
Other than that, you're good.
Other than that, I'm fine.
Other than that.
Miscarried in spring of 2013, didn't even see a doctor.
No, I actually saw like a little sac and a baby. I was at work and I just had the miscarriage at work and continued on like it didn't happen. Same with the last miscarriage last month.
You told your husband to cancel his vasectomy that you had agreed to. We finally agreed, okay, let's get a vasectomy.
We had agreed to a vasectomy when I was pregnant with my 4th. And when he was born, we both looked at each other and said, I thought, at least from my perception, that we don't want to do anything permanent. We're going to wait 5 years. If in 5 years we don't want to go back to diapers and night feedings and everything, then we'll get him a vasectomy.
You've collected over 2,500 pets.
That's a minimum.
That's probably a low number.
That's a very low number.
And
that's over my lifetime.
You use tax return money to buy a horse.
My current horse, okay, yes. I financed her to where I'll pay for her out of our tax return money, yes.
And you're fascinated by animals giving birth.
Yes, I've bred, starting as a teenager, my parents would buy me guinea pigs and rabbits. I'd have hundreds of them at a time. And
do you like to watch them while they're pregnant and know it's growing
yes,
inside? Because there's nothing like that hamster glow.
Right. Dogs are better. Dogs are more fun. Horses are more fun, but I do, I enjoy the whole birth process and thought about becoming a midwife because I thought, well, that would help me. I could deliver other people's babies.
Maybe you could scratch the itch by having somebody else's baby, but being involved in that process.
Right, and make it a career because I'm passionate about it.
All right, well, let's take a break. Next, Liz recently collapsed, blacked out at 2 in the morning. We're going to find out what she says Chris did to cause that episode when we come back.
I can't have wrinkles on my bed, so I'll have him make it and remake it until it's completely flat.
You have no idea. It's very frustrating.
I was diagnosed with OCD a year ago. I'll browse Craigslist constantly for animals to try to flip to make money. I replaced the obsession with the animals with budgeting.
My wife will stay up for 2 or 3 hours and do budgets, page after page. When I change the volume on the TV to an odd number, she will pester me until I change it back to an even number. If I bathe my children before I give them dinner, it throws her whole day off.
I get a lot of attention when I'm pregnant. I do like that, especially when I'm put on bed rest. First of all, I'm at home, so I get tons more time with my children. I'm constantly getting texts or Facebook messages or emails. Are you okay? How's the baby doing?
Each pregnancy, we were at the hospital no less than 20 or 30 times.
Well, Liz and Chris say their 4-year marriage is on the rocks because Liz's addiction to getting pregnant and collecting pets. Now, she said 2,500 pets is a low number. This includes like 20 horses, 100 guinea pigs, 150 bunnies, countless cats, dogs, chickens, rats, chinchillas, sugar gliders, whatever the hell that is, prairie dogs, and throw in a few goats. What the hell? Throw in a few goats. Chris says he's willing to do just about anything to make Liz happy, but it's not easy.
If my wife needs something, she demands it now. If I'm cooking for the kids and she needs a Q-tip, she will demand that I stop what I'm doing and bring her a Q-tip.
Aww.
About a week ago, my wife was laying on the couch and she wanted to take a nap, but the bed wasn't made. I was busy doing chores. She asked me to go make it, and I told her, you go make it. She got very upset with me and stayed on the couch and refused to go in there until I did it, so I just gave up and did it.
I can't have wrinkles on my bed, so I'll have him make it and remake it until it's completely flat.
No idea. It's very frustrating.
His argument is, as soon as you get in the bed, there's going to be wrinkles in it, but I have a hard time. I can't even look at the bed if it's not made.
My wife will ask me to take off her shoes because her back hurts and says she doesn't want to bend over and do it. I don't mind doing it every now and then, but I don't like to be told to do it. The bank account is in my wife's name. If I need gas, my wife will either leave me with a check or leave me with a debit card, but leave me with specific instructions not to spend any more than I'm supposed to.
I don't let Chris have any access to our money because I'm afraid he'll spend it on Pepsis or something stupid that we don't need. He's not very budget savvy.
It makes me feel like a child. It makes me feel frustrated and aggravated because I can make my own choices.
Well, maybe not. Chris makes the bed so Liz can nap, but it has to be wrinkle-free.
Yeah, I can't even look at it if it's not made.
Can't even look at it.
I can't even enter the room.
You can't even go in there?
No.
Because there's a wrinkle in that bed. It's like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
So it's get your ass back in here and get this wrinkle out so I can go sleep?
Pretty much.
So I can take a nap?
Pretty much.
Stop sweeping the floor and get this wrinkle out of here? Okay. Takes Liz's shoes and socks off after work or shopping, brings Liz's purse, shoes, cell, and water at her command, asks for money, because the bank account's in Liz's name, cuts off friends that Liz doesn't trust. Chris has had 6 beers in the last 4 years because you limit his drinking.
I limit alcohol in the house, yes.
Okay. Must brush teeth immediately after drinking or no sex. Okay,
that's correct. So, yeah.
I can't stand the smell of alcohol on his breath. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the wrinkle in the bed.
Okay.
What's your problem with a wrinkle in the bed?
I can't quite explain it. It's illogical. It just bothers me. Same thing if the bedroom gets cluttered, because that's my sanctuary. That's where I go when I'm really anxious and stressed out.
And so anxiety builds up.
Anxiety builds up with me daily, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. Mm-hmm. I can't get to sleep. I have crutches that get me to sleep. I have crutches that get me through the day, and they're not getting me through the day, and
like
nothing's
what?
working. Right now, I'm still taking my Klonopin. I can take 4 or 5 times the dose of what I'm prescribed, and it still does not help with my anxiety.
But you have rituals also that you go through.
Yes.
Patterns that you have to do.
Yes, like budgeting. I have to budget.
And you would write out how many pages of budget every night?
40 to 60.
40 to 60 pages of budget.
Yeah, I'll do like scenario 1. Chris gets a job and makes this much an hour. Scenario 2, I quit my job. Chris gets a job and makes this much an hour.
Every night?
It was every night, yes.
And what did you learn in the 24 hours since you did the last 60 pages?
Well, what I've learned is that unfortunately I can't plan for everything, and then it makes me have more anxiety because then my budget's thrown off.
You wrote to me in your letter, you said, all of this stuff going on, this pregnancy addiction as you call it, the PTSD, the OCD, the anxiety, the depression, all of this, You said, my life is out of control and I am spiraling down.
Yes, that's definitely how I feel. Nothing can make me happy. I keep thinking that having another child will make me happy. Didn't work with number 2, 3, 4. We're trying again. I don't know if this one will make me happy. I don't know if number 40 would make me happy. I don't know. I don't value myself when I'm not pregnant or nursing. I only value myself and take care of myself when somebody's physically dependent upon me.
And once the baby stops nursing?
I feel rejected.
But you do feel...
That's when I start pushing for another baby.
Yeah. You get the pattern here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My wife has isolated me from most of the people I know and talk to, and then at the same time, she pushes me away, so I don't talk to anybody, ever. I'm very lonely. Over the 4.5 years we've been married, my wife and I have only been really intimate 4 or 5 times. We've had sex often, but the actual feeling of intimacy I've only felt a few times. My wife very rarely will have sex facing me.
Now, one of Chris's and Liz's longest running arguments is Chris pot smoking. He says he has to smoke to cope with the stress of living with this woman. Take a look.
In 2011, I found pot at the house, and he was high. I was devastated.
My wife was stressing me out, and I smoked some pot, and ever since then, she's treated me like I was the worst person ever.
He got very angry, said he wasn't doing it. I kept pushing and pushing and pushing because he will lie until he is backed into a corner with proof, like, here's the pot. He got extremely angry with me, extremely upset. He refused to take a drug test, and at that point, he put his fist through the closet door. I hyperventilated, went outside. I mean, I was rocking back and forth and having a complete panic attack.
My wife has isolated me from most of the people I know and talk to, and then at the same time, she pushes me away, so I don't know where to go. So I don't talk to anybody, ever. I'm very lonely.
What do you need from her that you're not getting?
I'd say respect, number 1. And number 2 would just be to show me that she's happy with me or happy with our family or just to be happy.
She's not proud of you?
No, not at all. If you do her wrong, you're screwed.
And when you get upset, you've called him bum, loser, worthless, trailer trash?
He's called me things too, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want from him?
He gives me a lot. I mean, he is there for me emotionally. He does try to make me happy. I would like to be able to stay at home with the kids. It doesn't mean that I want to sit on my butt and do nothing. I would love to like run my own small business or become a midwife or do something I'm passionate about, something that I enjoy. Right now, I go to work and I'm miserable every day. I'm dying inside, and I've been trying to tell him that for 4 years, and nothing's changed. Nothing.
So you want him to fix you?
I don't want him to fix me. I just think that I would be much happier if I had more time with my own children.
Because you've tried different things, but there are times when you do have time with the children that you go in the bedroom and shut the door and say, I just can't handle this.
And that's because I'm working. I was working up to 95 hours a week. I manage a bank during the week, and on the weekends I was training anywhere between 30 and 45 horses. I am exhausted. I am beyond my rope, and yes, my children get the short end of the stick by the end of the day.
But if we're being completely honest, and this is a kind of a test, you sure like being pregnant and giving birth and nursing infants a lot more than you do mothering children once they grow up.
No, I love mothering them. No, I love mothering them. I just want more energy and more time to be able to mother them. I feel like whenever I do try to mother them, he tells me I'm doing it wrong.
Okay, so what you told me is not true.
About what?
Because you said, unless I'm pregnant or nursing, I don't feel worthy. I don't feel meaningful.
I don't take care of myself. Yes, I don't take care of myself. And
so
I don't
you're not
feel
inspired to do that by older children, only when you are carrying or nursing.
Right. I just feel like they're physically dependent on me in every way possible. And I feel like I'm needed, and I just feel like I'm their everything.
But you just denied the contrast, and there is a contrast because it's an ugly contrast, so you don't want to acknowledge it, but it's true.
Right, but I do mother my children, and I do love them to death, and they know that.
And you've tried different things to cope. You were addicted to cocaine.
Before I was a mother, as a teenager,
Right.
yeah.
Xanax,
As a teenager.
alcohol, Oxy. Gosh, it goes on.
You could throw pot on there too.
Hydros, Clonical.
That was us together as teens.
Yeah.
So you can add him to that.
Yeah.
He was present during that as a teen.
Do you consider yourself defensive?
Very defensive. Yes, I don't like being vulnerable.
'Cause you do a lot of yeah, but.
Yeah, I don't.
You just yeah, but he.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't say yeah, but he calls me names. Yeah, but he smokes pot. Yeah, but he did this. Yeah, but he. Yeah, but.
I'm very defensive. I mean, I know I have problems, and I know that they're serious, and I take ownership in that. But at the same time, I do try to deflect, and I am defensive. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I didn't need you to tell me that. Let's take a break. We're going to find out what the doctors told Liz that could threaten her chances of having baby number 5 when we come back.
I prefer the baby stage. I love it when they're completely dependent upon mom and no one else can do. I think I'm obsessed. I mean, I'm constantly cleaning their ears, clipping their nails, maybe a little bit more often than necessary.
Where'd your foot go? There you go.
I co-sleep with each of my babies, so they sleep with me. I co-slept with my daughter till she was 5 months. I co-slept with Ethan until he was 12 months old, and with Brayden, I co-slept with him for a year. I think I'm obsessed. I mean, I'm constantly cleaning their ears, clipping their nails.
Mommy will do it for you.
Maybe a little bit more often than necessary. I prefer the baby stage.
All right, there you go. Let me get your snacks.
I love it when they're completely dependent upon mom and no one else can do.
I got you.
I was very dedicated. I wanted to nurse Brayden until 18 months. He did bite me while he was nursing. And after that, he absolutely refused to nurse. He would scream, he would cry, he'd arch away from me. I felt very rejected, and I was extremely depressed for several months.
And the baby got so used to me feeding the bottle that it didn't want her breast anymore. She would be mad at me for that.
Do you have a question for me?
What can we do, or what can I do, I guess, to, first of all, be happy and to help our marriage? Because I don't want to divorce this man. I love him to death.
Do you have a question for me?
I want to know, what are things that I can do to cope? Because she's not going to change overnight.
I don't want you to cope.
Okay.
You got another question? Because I don't want you to cope. Because if you cope, you're enabling.
Yes.
And you need to stop enabling.
All right.
Look, let me give each of you a reality to think about here. First off, you cannot make her happy. Happiness comes from the inside out. You can't make her happy, so stop trying.
Okay.
Her discontent comes from the inside out. It's not you. I'm not saying you're a perfect husband. I'm not saying you're perfect in anything you do. But you're not either, are you?
Oh, no.
So isn't there a nice symmetry to that? But yet you still have the expectation. Now, let me say some things to you that you need to hear, and I don't know if anybody's ever said this to you or not before, but I'm going to tell you the truth as I see it, and then you can decide what to do with that. You know, first off, you're having children for the wrong reasons, okay? Children should not be born with a job, and your children are born with a job. I went down through the things, the specific statements you said. I don't know how many kids it will take to make me happy. It's not their job to make you happy. If a child is born with a job of making you happy, that's unfair. Then you're violating a fundamental principle of human functioning. You solve psychological problems psychologically. Look, I don't know if these diagnoses are right. I don't know if you're OCD. It sounds like you certainly have some tendencies of being a bit obsessive in your thought and compulsive in your behavior. I don't know if you have PTSD. I've looked back through your history. I see some things that certainly suggest to me that you would have some lasting scars that could trigger some reactions in you that are change-worthy. I don't even know if you're bipolar because I haven't been able to ascertain what that diagnosis was based on. But assuming that any or all of that is true, OCD, PTSD, bipolar, anxiety, depression, all of these things, if all of this is going on with you, fixing it with pregnancy is not on the short list of recommended therapies.
Right. I'm trying to fix myself. I am, but it's not working.
Stop having babies because you're having them for the wrong reason. Stop having babies. You're doing this for the wrong reason. I mean, come on. You're resenting it. You're getting pushed into it. You need to stop enabling her. And if she gets pissed off, she can get happy in the same shoes she got unhappy in, I guess. She's going to have to get over it. She does get over it, doesn't she?
Yes.
So you have to decide, if I have issues going on, I need to deal with those. You need to stop trying to fix psychological problems with non-psychological solutions. And I want to help you with this, and I will get you the evaluations that you need. I will get you the help that you need to get you on the right track and start you down that road, if you will let me do that.
Right.
If I get her that help, you will support that, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
And you need to get a backbone. Don't cave into this.
Oh, I won't.
Good. All right, we'll start working on it right away. All right, next. She says certain sounds, smells, and touches irritate her so much that she has to keep her distance from her fiance and her 2 children. We'll talk to them when we come back.
Anytime I hear natural human sounds like chewing, sniffling, it just makes me angry.
If I clear my throat like she gets pretty upset.
It bothers me if he breathes on me.
When I go to kiss her, I know now to just hold my breath.
Well, we're talking about what some would call extreme disorders today. Sydney says she cannot stand everyday sounds like chewing, swallowing, breathing, snoring, or whistling. She says she's also sensitive to how people touch her. Toes touching her anywhere on her body are a giant no-no, and her own fiancé has to hold his breath when attempting to give her a kiss.
Anytime I hear natural human sounds that people make, like chewing, smacking, sniffling, it just makes me angry.
Sydney hates to hear the sound of clipping nails, eating, breathing, yawning. If I clear my throat like she gets pretty upset.
I can't stand the sound that Michael makes when he eats. Can you eat that somewhere else, please? If Michael's eating in one room, I just instinctively go to the other room to eat. It just disgusts me.
It can be unbearable to live with someone that gets angry at everyday sounds and noises. Intimacy is a big problem. Kissing, hugging, holding, cuddling.
When Michael and I are intimate, it bothers me if he breathes on me or touches me lightly.
So when I go to kiss her, I know now to just hold my breath. It's easier and it doesn't start an argument. When we do sleep together, she has to have a loud fan.
I had to sleep with a fan on to drown out sounds.
We have our own blankets and she puts a body pillow in between as sort of a barrier.
My problems sometimes get me to the point where I'm so angry that I lose my temper and yell or slam a door or have to punch something.
She has thrown cups, glasses, plates, whatever she can get her hands on. If things don't change, I feel like it could destroy our relationship.
Okay, what do you think's going on?
I feel like I have misophonia, OCD, and severe anxiety.
What does he do that bugs you the most?
Chewing, swallowing, breathing on me, being lightly touched. I have to just rub it off, or it just nags at me.
So if he brushes up against you or touches you or whatever, you have to come and physically rub it
or scratch it.
And what do you think about this?
It's frustrating.
Do you get that it's not normal?
Very much. It's completely illogical. And I want to change it more than anything. Mm-hmm. I feel like it just completely controls every aspect of my life.
And mine.
And my children.
Yeah. Oh, and why do you think you're OCD?
I have rituals that I have to do. I have to touch things a certain way. I count things constantly. I have like a specific schedule that I have to do certain things in the same order every time. Like before I go to bed, I have to, do everything in a certain order, brush my teeth. I have this thing where I have to shake the water off the toothbrush and I count, and I have to do it until it feels right. Then I have to wash my hands, and once I've washed my hands and I'm headed to the bed, I can't touch anything else. If I touch anything, I feel like it got like a smell on my hands, or it feels dirty. I have to go rewash my hands before I can go to bed.
All right, and give me an example of a ritual that you have to do other than that one.
If I'm going into a room and I'm coming back out, I can't just shut the door behind me. I have to open the door all the way as far as it can open and then close it and turn the door handle all the way.
And if you don't, what happens?
I'll constantly think about it until I go back and do it.
So you have to go complete the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How are you doing right now?
I'm okay right now because, I'm in a big room with lots of humming sounds that are drowning out the little sounds. Like, the only sounds that bother me are like natural human sounds that people make, like with their mouth mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So like if there's a lot going on that's drowning out those sounds, I don't pay attention to it. But if I'm in a quiet room with just like me and him, and I'm so in tune to those sounds.
Well, you gave us a list of sounds that bother you. You said eating, chewing, swallowing, smacking, chewing gum, snoring, loud breathing, whispering, coughing, yawning, typing on a keyboard, clicking sounds, ticking, repetitive sounds, nail clipping, breathing, scratching, whistling, sniffing, sniffling, sneezing, laughing.
Some things bother me more than others, like chewing, and it won't even be like, he doesn't have to be smacking with his mouth open, or, he could be using perfectly good manners, but I can hear the food in his mouth like moving around as he's chewing, and it just disgusts me so deeply that I just get angry, and sometimes I'll just like slam my hand down, or like he just knows not to eat around me.
All right, let's take a quick break. Next, Sydney is almost 7 months pregnant. We're going to find out why she's terrified to bring a third child into this dysfunctional household next.
In the mornings when I'm getting my daughter ready for school, I don't like to hold her hand. I've told her, Mommy doesn't like that. Don't do that. I don't like that. I worry that she feels like I don't ever want her around me. In the mornings when I'm getting my daughter ready for school, I can't let her hold on to my arms for balance when she's stepping into her pants. I have to have her stand next to a bed or next to a chair to hold on because I can't stand the light touching on my arms. I don't like to hold her hand. Again, back to the light touching. If she were to hold my hand a certain way, I don't like it. I walk her to and from school every day, and of course I hold her hand, but it has to be a certain way because of the way it feels. Sometimes if we're sitting on the couch watching TV and she'll try to cuddle up to me, I have to make her move away because I feel crowded. I'm scared she's gonna lay her hand on me. I try to avoid the situation. I fight it in my head like, don't say anything, don't stop her, just let her do it. I've told her, Mommy doesn't like that. Don't do that, I don't like that. I don't worry that she thinks I don't love her because I know I show her that and I tell her all the time, but I worry that she feels like I don't ever want her around me. I just feel like a terrible mother sometimes. I hate being this way. It makes me feel crazy.
Do you think she understands?
I think she understands somewhat. Like, she knows that I have a problem, and I always make sure to tell her, you're not doing anything wrong. It's not you. It's just I have a problem that I need help with. Mm-hmm. She just knows. She knows all the little things that I don't like, and she tries not to do it.
What's your concern about your third child?
All of my issues tend to be worse the more stressed I am. So one of my issues is that, with a new baby in the house and, me being under a lot of stress and lack of sleep, that I'm not going to be able to handle it, even worse than I am now, That it's all, that I'm just going to explode.
Do you know what misophonia is?
Hatred of sound.
Well, there's really more to it than that. It's also known as selective sound sensitivity, and it's an abnormally strong negative reaction of the autonomic nervous system and the limbic system to specific sounds, usually soft sounds, and they're typically breathing sounds, things like that. But it's generally more acute if it's with someone to whom you have an emotional attachment.
That describes me exactly to a T.
There's a neurological component here.
Right.
To an extent, this becomes involuntary. There's also a psychological component to it that's pretty narcissistic. It's like you can make the noises and that's okay, but anybody else makes the noises, that's not okay. And if it's somebody that you have an emotional attachment to, it's really not okay. Now, we're going to take a break, and coming up, we're going to find out if there is any way Sydney could sleep in the same bed with her fiance, share meals with her family, or cuddle with her children in the future. In other words, is there a way out of this? We'll talk about all of that when we come back. Michael wrote me for help with his fiance's condition. She thinks she has misophonia. She thinks she has OCD. She thinks she has anxiety. She may be right on all three counts. He says when they first got together, he thought she hated everything about him. She admits she hid the severity of her disorder until later in their relationship. Michael wants to know, look, are we ever going to be able to sleep in the same bed, kiss on a regular basis, and start to act like a normal couple? The answer is yes. Sometimes we get into a neurological loop. You just, in your mind, you go round and around and around and around. There's no exit ramp. There's no way to get it out. And that's why it becomes so ritualistic. There are treatments for this. Now, you're talking about three different things here, but they could be intertwined. Anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder are associated because OCD is driven by anxiety. Because when you do the ritual, you get a little lessening of anxiety, at least for a little bit, right? Then it starts to build back up till you do something else.
But it also causes anxiety because I don't want to do it. Right, exactly.
So, but that can be dealt with. We can give you other ways to cope with that. With regard to the misophonia, this is a very specific disorder, and it can be helped sometimes with medications. It can certainly be helped with different types of neurofeedback and biofeedback. There's not a whole heck of a lot known about it, but there are treatments for it where you can get a good deal better from this, and in an amazingly short period of time. That doesn't mean that you won't have to manage it, but a lot of this you can do on your own at home. So what I want to do is get you in the hands of some very specialized care that's going to help you with neurofeedback and biofeedback and give you some anxiety management tools to help you on the other end. So if I arrange, this is kind of a specialized protocol, but if I arrange this for you, you'll do this, right?
Absolutely.
You're happy to do it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you are like beyond thrilled, right?
Beyond it, yes.
We'll get that started right away for you, okay?
Thank you.
And we're going to do exactly the same thing with you. How do you feel about that?
Much better.
I want to thank all of my guests today. For more information on today's show, you can visit drphil.com. We'll have some more definitions. The one I put up are abbreviated. We take them from the DSM-5, and we'll have the full definitions up for you in case you're wondering if you are afflicted in the same way. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.